Move to my hometown, or you do not really love me. My fiancée announced days before our wedding day. I said. Then I guess I do not. She found the engagement ring on the wedding day, and I was already gone. My name's Jason, 31. And I run a marketing consulting firm in Denver. Nothing fancy. Just me and 2 part-time contractors working with local businesses. It took me 6 years to build this client base from nothing. 6 years of networking events, coffee meetings, proving myself to skeptical business owners who had been burned by other consultants. Ashley and I met at Colorado State 8 years ago. She was this bright, ambitious girl from some tiny Nebraska town, Millfield. Her family was old-school traditional. Ashley was the first in her family to go to college. Those first few years were amazing. She got a job at a nonprofit. I was grinding to get my business off the ground. We supported each other through everything. I believed we were a team, but something shifted after we got engaged last year. She started talking more and more about how much she missed home, how her parents were getting older, how her sister Emma just had a baby and Ashley was missing all these family moments. I got it. I really did. Family's important. But every conversation somehow turned into how isolated she felt in Denver, how artificial city life was compared to real community back home. You do not understand, she would say when I tried to relate. You grew up here. I left everything behind. She was not wrong. I did have roots here. That was kind of the point. My clients trusted me because I understood the Denver market, because I had been part of the community for years. The first red flag should have been when she started calling my work your little business, like it was some cute hobby instead of the thing that paid for our apartment, our vacations, the engagement ring on her finger. I would remind her that I was doing well, that I was planning to expand, maybe hire full-time employees. She had just smiled that patient smile, like I was being naive. I should have seen it coming, but I was blindsided when she dropped the bomb 2 weeks before our wedding. We were at Romano's, our usual Italian place, going over last-minute wedding details. Everything seemed normal. She was excited about the flowers, worried about the weather forecast. Then, out of nowhere, I have been thinking about after the honeymoon, she said, cutting into her chicken parmigiana. I want us to move to Millfield. I literally stopped chewing. What? I want to move home. Jason, right after we get back from Maui. My dad talked to his friend who owns the real estate office. They are looking for someone to help with marketing. You could do that. My stomach dropped. Ashley, I cannot just pack up and move to Nebraska. My entire business is here. It is not like you have some huge corporation, she said, not looking up from her plate. You work from your laptop mostly anyway. That is not how it works. I could hear my voice getting tight. I have clients here, relationships I have built over years. I cannot service Denver businesses from 500 miles away. So you get new clients. Millfield has businesses too. Millfield has like 3,000 people. Ashley, Denver has 3 million. The market here is worth 50 times what I could ever build there. She finally looked at me, and her expression was cold. So that is it. Your precious business is more important than being near my family. That is not what I am saying. I am saying this is a huge decision. We need to plan this properly. If I just abandon everything here, we would be starting over financially. It could take years to build up income again. How would we pay for a house, kids? We will figure it out. People lived in small towns long before fancy marketing consultants existed. That is when I knew she did not respect what I did. At all. 6 years of building relationships, learning industries, developing expertise. But to her, it was all disposable. I need you to understand something, I said, trying to keep my voice level. This is not just a job to me. This is everything I have worked for since college. And I need you to understand something. She shot back. I have been away from my family for 8 years. 8 years of missing everything important, because I chose to build a life here with you. Now I am asking you to choose me back. This is not choosing you. This is choosing to destroy everything I have built. Her eyes filled with tears, but they looked more like angry tears than sad ones. If you really loved me, you would want to be near the people who raised me. You would want our children to know their grandparents. Ashley, your family is wonderful. I love spending time with them, but asking me to move there permanently, with no discussion, no planning, no consideration for my career, that is not fair. Fair, she laughed, but there was no humor in it. What is fair is that I have supported your dreams for 6 years. I have been patient while you worked late nights and weekends. I have smiled through networking events where I do not know anyone. I have built my whole life around your schedule, and I have appreciated every bit of that. But I never asked you to sacrifice your career. You chose a nonprofit job you love. I have never suggested you should quit. That is different. My job does not control our entire life. There it was, the real issue. She saw my work as selfish, demanding, something that took me away from her instead of something that provided for our future. Look, I said, trying one more time. What if we compromise? What if we plan to move there in 2 or 3 years? Give me time to transition, maybe develop some remote capabilities, save up money so we are not struggling when we make the switch. No, Jason, I am done compromising. I am done putting my needs second. We move to my hometown after the honeymoon, or you should start questioning yourself if you really love me. The threat was crystal clear. Do what I want, or lose me entirely. I stared at her across the table. This woman I had planned to spend my life with, and felt something fundamental break inside me. Then I guess I do not, I said quietly. What is that supposed to mean? She blinked. Her voice caught somewhere between disbelief and anger. If loving you means accepting that the career I built from scratch with my own hands is dismissed as unimportant, or that I have to sacrifice it without anything offered in return, then I guess I really do not. Her face went white, then red, then white again. You do not mean that. I looked at this woman I had loved for 8 years, who was asking me to throw away everything I had worked for, and felt a strange calm settle over me. I think I do, I said. She started crying then. Real tears this time. Jason, please. I just want us to be near my family. I want our kids to grow up around their cousins. I want Sunday dinners with my parents and summer barbecues and all the things I gave up when I moved here. And I want those things too, Ashley, but not at the cost of destroying everything I have built. Not without any consideration for what this would mean for our future. We can build a new future there. You can, I cannot. Not the way you are demanding. She wiped her eyes with her napkin. So what happens now? I pulled out my wallet and put money on the table. Now I think we both need some time to think about what we really want. The wedding is in 2 weeks, I know. I left her sitting there and drove home to our apartment, my head spinning. 2 weeks before our wedding, and everything had just fallen apart. That night, Ashley came home, trying to act like nothing had happened. She talked about the final head count for the reception, whether we needed more wine for the rehearsal dinner. I played along, but inside I was reeling. Over the next few days, she kept bringing up Millfield casually. My mom says, the elementary school is hiring a PE teacher. Great benefits. Dad mentioned the hardware store might be looking for help with their website. But every time I tried to sit down and have an honest, serious conversation about moving there, really talk about it together, it would turn into an argument. Without fail, she would accuse me of being selfish, of not caring about her needs, of refusing to understand. But it was not love she was asking for. It was capitulation. A week before the wedding, I made my decision. This was not going anywhere. Talking did not help. Reasoning did not matter. And I could not do it. I could not marry someone who turned every disagreement into a personal attack. I could not marry someone who fundamentally did not respect what mattered to me. I started planning my exit like a military operation. I called my business partner, Jenny, and explained the situation. She was shocked, but supportive. We worked out a plan for her to handle my clients, while I figured out next steps. I found a storage unit across town and started moving my important stuff there after Ashley left for work. I told the landlord I would be off the lease at the end of the month. The hardest part was the wedding expenses. We would both contributed, but I had paid for about 70%. The venue deposit, the photographer, the honeymoon, almost $40,000 down the drain, but $40,000 to avoid a disastrous marriage. Money well spent. 5 days before the wedding, I got up at 4 in the morning, gathered my last few things, and loaded my car. I slipped the engagement ring off my finger and placed it carefully in the center of our kitchen table. We had agreed early on that I would wear an engagement ring too, a matching one to the ring I had given her. It would be a symbol of equality, of mutual commitment. I had been so proud explaining it to people, smiling as I said, it proved we were a team, that we were building something together. I had ever imagined it would end up sitting there, right next to the wedding timeline Ashley had left there the night before. Like a cruel joke. I had not planned to leave a note. I thought the ring alone would say enough, but I stood there for another moment, staring at it all. And then, I reached for a pen. That was the least I could do. Ashley, by the time you read this, I will be gone. I cannot be the man you want me to be, and you cannot accept the man I am. I cannot marry you knowing that you do not respect the career I have built, or the life I have chosen. I hope someday you find someone who wants the same life you do. You deserve to be happy, just not with me. I have covered my share of the wedding expenses. Please do not contact me. This decision is final. Jason, I took one last look around the apartment we had shared for 3 years, then quietly closed the door behind me. I drove straight through to Phoenix, where my college roommate Jake had moved for work. I had called him around 6 a.m., woken him up, and explained everything in 30 seconds. Come crash here as long as you need, he had said without hesitation. My phone started going crazy around noon. Calls from Ashley, her parents, her sister, my own family. I turned it off and spent the day helping Jake organize his garage, trying to keep my hands busy and my mind occupied. 2 days later, when I finally turned it back on, I had over 100 messages. Ashley's messages started pleading and ended furious. Jason, please call me. We can work this out, became you coward. How could you do this to me? Her dad left me a voicemail that was pure rage. You have humiliated my daughter and embarrassed our entire family. You will pay for this, you selfish piece of garbage. Her mom's message was worse, disappointed and hurt. I thought you were a good man, Jason. I thought you loved our Ashley. How could you do something so cruel? My own parents were confused and worried. My friends were split between supportive and shocked. I wanted to defend myself, to explain what really happened. But what was the point? Ashley's family would see it as me making excuses for heartless behavior anyway. A week later, I drove back to Denver to deal with the aftermath. The apartment was empty, except for the furniture we had bought together. Ashley had moved back to Nebraska, taking everything that was not clearly mine. She would also taken my grandmother's necklace, a pearl strand that had been in my family for 3 generations. My mother had given it to me to give to Ashley as a wedding gift. Technically, since there was no wedding, it should have been returned. I texted Ashley about it. Her response was ice cold. You humiliated me. Consider it compensation for the therapy I will need. That is when I knew I was dealing with someone I would never really known at all. I threw myself back into work. My clients were understanding about the situation. Most of them had been through divorces or difficult breakups themselves. Business actually picked up as I had more time to focus without wedding planning. But Ashley's family was not done with me. 2 weeks after I got back, her brother Jake called me. You know you destroyed her, right? She cannot even get out of bed some days. Mom and Dad are worried sick. I am sorry she is hurting, I said. But I could not marry someone who wanted me to give up everything I had worked for. Give up what? A little consulting business? You could have done that anywhere. It is not little to me, Jake. It is my career, my livelihood. And Ashley did not respect what mattered to me. What matters to you is making money off websites. What mattered to her was having her husband want to be part of her family. There it was again. The dismissal of everything I had built, the reduction of 6 years of hard work to making money off websites. Jake, I tried to compromise. I suggested we plan the move gradually. Give me time to transition. She refused to discuss it. It was her way or nothing, because she had already compromised for 6 years. She built her life around your schedule. She had a right to ask for something back. She had a right to ask. She did not have a right to demand. The conversation went nowhere. Jake hung up convinced I was selfish, and I was left wondering if everyone in Ashley's family saw my career as worthless. A month later, things escalated. I got a letter from a lawyer representing Ashley's family. They were demanding I pay for the wedding expenses they had incurred, catering, flowers, her dress, their travel costs. The total was over $15,000. The letter claimed I had willfully breached my promise to marry and caused significant financial and emotional damages. They gave me 30 days to pay or face a lawsuit. I laughed when I read it. This was purely vindictive. They knew I could not be legally forced to marry someone, and they knew wedding expenses were not legally recoverable in cases like this. They were hoping to scare me into paying to make the problem go away. I hired my own lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Wells, who specialized in family law. She took one look at their letter and shook her head. This is harassment, she said, pure and simple. They are angry, and they want to punish you. We will respond professionally and shut this down. Patricia drafted a response that was polite but firm. She explained that I had no legal obligation to reimburse wedding expenses when an engagement was ended due to irreconcilable differences. She also mentioned that any further harassment would be considered grounds for a restraining order. But then she added something that made me nervous. By the way, do you have any property of theirs? Because if they are coming after you legally, they might claim you stole something. My blood ran cold. They have my grandmother's necklace. Did you give it to her as an engagement gift? No, it was supposed to be a wedding gift. Since there was no wedding, then it is yours. We need to get it back before this gets messier. I had to laugh at the irony. They were threatening to sue me while keeping stolen property. Patricia sent another letter demanding the return of the necklace. Their lawyer's response was predictable. They claimed it was a gift to Ashley to compensate for her emotional distress. Emotional distress? I asked Patricia. She gave me an ultimatum. When I did not cave, she is claiming distress. It does not matter. What matters is that necklace was never given as a completed gift. We can prove that. The legal battle dragged on for 3 months, lawyers arguing over a pearl necklace and wedding bills, while Ashley's family painted me as a vindictive ex-fiancé who was harassing a heartbroken girl. The breakthrough came when Patricia got Ashley's family to agree to a mediation session. The idea was to resolve everything without going to court. The mediation was held in a neutral office downtown. Ashley's parents, her lawyer, Patricia, and me. Ashley was not there. Her lawyer said she was too emotionally fragile to participate. Her father, Tom, looked like he wanted to strangle me. Her mother, Linda, just looked sad and disappointed. This was the family that had welcomed me to holiday dinners and birthday parties for 6 years. Now they saw me as the enemy. Their lawyer started with the same demands: payment for wedding expenses and keeping the necklace as compensation for damages. Patricia calmly explained why neither demand had any legal merit. Then she made her own demand. My client wants his family heirloom returned immediately, and he wants all harassment to stop in exchange. He will not pursue charges for theft or file a countersuit for harassment. Tom's face turned red. Harassment. He is the one who destroyed our daughter. Mr. Patterson, Patricia said smoothly, your daughter gave my client an ultimatum that would have required him to abandon his career. My client has right to decline and to end the engagement. She asked him to move to be near family. That is what married couples do. She demanded he immediately relocate and abandon his client base with no discussion or planning. That is not a reasonable request. Linda spoke up for the first time. We just do not understand why he could not compromise. Ashley gave up so much to be with him. I looked at this woman who had been like a second mother to me. Linda, I offered to compromise. I suggested we plan the move gradually so I could transition my business properly. Ashley refused to consider it because she was tired of everything being about your work. My work pays for our life together. It is not a hobby. It is how I make a living. You could make a living in Millfield too. There it was again. The fundamental disconnect. To them, my business was just a job that could be done anywhere. They could not understand that marketing consulting requires local relationships, market knowledge, years of reputation building. The mediation went in circles for 2 hours. They could not understand why I would not sacrifice my career for their daughter's happiness, and I could not make them see that marriage should not require that level of sacrifice without discussion. Finally, Patricia cut to the chase. Let us resolve this simply. Return the necklace, drop all financial demands, and agree to no further contact. Everyone walks away clean. Their lawyer huddled with Tom and Linda for several minutes. I could hear heated whispers, but could not make out words when they came back. Tom looked defeated. Fine. But we want it on record that this man destroyed our daughter's life. Your daughter's life is not destroyed, Patricia replied. She is 28 years old. She has a good job. She is surrounded by family who love her. She will recover and find someone who wants the same thing she does. 2 weeks later, a courier delivered the necklace. It was in the original box, untouched. Along with it was a note from Ashley's mother. Jason, I hope you are happy with your choice. Ashley is seeing a therapist and trying to rebuild her life. I pray someday you realize what you threw away. A business can be rebuilt anywhere. True love is irreplaceable. I read the note twice, then put it in my files. Linda still did not get it. but I was done trying to explain. 6 months later, my business is thriving. I hired Jenny full-time and brought on another contractor. We are looking at expanding into Colorado Springs and maybe Fort Collins. The network I spent 6 years building is paying off in ways I never expected. I still think about Ashley sometimes. I hope she is doing well. I hope she finds someone who wants to live in Millfield, who sees small-town life as perfect rather than limiting. But I do not regret my choice. A marriage built on ultimatums, on one partner dismissing the other's career as insignificant, is not a marriage worth having. 2 weeks ago, I closed on a house in the Highlands neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it is mine. I converted the basement into an office with proper lighting and space for multiple workstations. For the first time in years, I am building something that is completely my own. I hung my grandmother's necklace in a shadow box in my bedroom. Not because I am bitter, but because it reminds me that some things are worth fighting for. Family heirlooms, career achievements, self-respect. Ashley's family painted me as selfish for choosing my business over love, but it was never about the business. It was about choosing mutual respect over ultimatums. It was about refusing to be remodeled into someone else's vision of the perfect husband. I am 31 years old. I have a successful business, a house I love, and the freedom to build whatever life I want. If that makes me selfish, I can live with that. I turned off my phone that night and have not looked back since. The silence is not empty. It is peaceful. It is the sound of a life built on my own terms, with room to grow in whatever direction I choose. And that is worth more than all the family dinners in Nebraska could ever be.